Let's hear Seasons.
Oh, yes.
Next track.
This was a very difficult one to mix.
That really surprises me because actually, compared to most of your songs, which are a lot of your songs are a lot more intricate than this, and this sounds more like a kind of classic pop song. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of I wouldn't have expected this one to be a tricky one.
It was because I hadn't quite explained to Chris Sheldon, my mixer, I hadn't explained where I was coming from with it, which is that it should sound like me playing my guitar and then there's a piano behind me somewhere. Not, it's a big piano ballad song.
Right.
And he did a perfectly fine mix of it that sounded very like bombastic, and I was just like, oh no. I thought that I'd done something wrong, maybe we'd recorded it badly, something. My friend Jay Chakravorty plays piano on this, and he's playing exactly what I had written for him, and so I was just blaming myself, but it's turned out beautifully in the end.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It's interesting because, like I say, it doesn't sound as idiosyncratic as some of your songs do.
That's such a nice word to use.
But it's and it's the kind of song that it's a kind of universal song, isn't it? And it's interesting because this one is a very personal one, isn't it? This is like a love song you've written.
And it started out as a love song to myself. Because it's that theme again of like reaching from the present, from like age and experience, some wisdom hopefully, reaching through to the past me and going, it's going to be all right. I'll hold your hand through it. That's what it was. It was called Girl in the Mirror to start with, and I wrote it on my piano in my kitchen in Bristol a few years ago. I had all these different versions of it, and I'd written most of the chorus, and then I was like, I think what I'm doing is resisting writing a love song because the former me that I'm actually talking to would have been too bratty and punky and cool in her own mind to write a gross love song about a boy. But I wanted to write a love song, so I wrote it. As soon as I just let go of that pretension, basically, this beautiful thing came out, and it's really meaningful. And I think it's you keep saying it's more like a more universal thing that goes beyond me.
Yeah, because it's a kind of song that, like a lot of the time when you as in people write songs, even if you don't hear, if you don't recognise the person's voice, or if it's an instrumental or something, you can generally go, that's by that person.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of song that I can just imagine other people doing. I can imagine it being played in all kinds of places. It feels like this one is the one that could set sail from the harbour of Penfriend and could just show up in the most surprising places.
Sabrina Carpenter, we're talking to you. I would love you to do your own version of this song. Get in touch.
But it's an interesting thing because I think sometimes people do resist. By people I mean like artists of whatever your art is. If something comes and it feels kind of natural, for the word, it doesn't have kind of clever bits, and it doesn't have twists or whatever, you sometimes resist it, or if it's too happy, for example, because there was the cliche as a tortured artist of making art from your pain. And if you go, happy love song, you sometimes go, no. Yeah. But those, sometimes when you go really personal, that's the thing that becomes then really universal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And the thing is, as soon as I started writing this on my piano in the kitchen in Bristol, and I'm not a pianist, I can write stuff on piano, but it's quite basic parts in the moment, and then I'll figure it out with MIDI later, and then I'll replay it or whatever, or ask someone else to replay it. So, but this came out, and it sounded like a classic thing I was playing, and I was like, how am I even able to play this? Because I'm not a practiced pianist at all. And I was just so surprised at it. And sometimes it is just like something's traveling through you. And I'm not completely saying it's nothing to do with me, it's all from the air. It's obviously also from inside me, it's my experience and stuff. But being a conduit for something sometimes happens. And I thought I was being ever so clever writing this song about myself. And it made me cry. So I knew I was onto something because there was a proper emotional weight to the melody and all that stuff, which is what I need to just even keep going to try and finish a song. And then, when I let go of this resistance I had to it being a love song, it all came out really fast. And basically, like the only way I've managed to sort of get over that anyway is making sure that it's not just happy, happy, joy, joy, because it's not. It's talking about trauma in there as well, and it's talking about believing in yourself, and that's just a theme. It's a general theme of my music, but particularly from this album, I think.
But also, I mean, you are an experienced songwriter by now. Let's be honest. You are.
Yeah.
And so I think, but I think there's that thing of when you start to do something and it's like, I don't know, maybe it didn't feel easy, but it sounds like this kind of song that might have just fallen out.
Yeah, this did feel easy.
But then it's then what you do with it that makes it not just like basic song. Do you know what I mean? It's like then you have things that you do to craft it and give it something more interesting, something that lasts more than one listen, basically. Yeah. For me, there's some songs I've written where it's been really I started doing it and it seems so obvious and so simple, and I'm like, I can't do that. That's surely that's a cliche. Yeah. Surely that's too easy. And then you go with it, because I've learnt to not listen to my inner critic and to just do it.
Yeah.
And then you can come back to it and listen and go, actually, that's really got something. And then you realise that naturally, just because of, I guess the experience you've got and the way that you've and what's sort of, different in your head to how a 3-chord song might be done by someone else, it becomes something else. And sometimes those songs are the ones that reach people the widest. Sometimes.
I think so. And sometimes you just get to the heart of something in a simple way. So there's a song off my first album, it's called Slow Puncture. I wrote that in 2008. Really proud of that song. And every time I write an album, I'm like, oh, is this the slow puncture? I have 3 kinds of songs, I think, that I write. There's the riffy, rocky ones, so say Spaceman. There's the weird ones, say Emotional Tourist. And then there's the like classic pop song, but delivered in my style kind of thing, as in, Slow Puncture, Seasons, various others across the years. And that's the slow puncture of this album in my mind, whatever that means. But it's nice when it pops up again. It's like the grown-up version. It's the, I wrote that in 2008, 2008. The 18 years on version of Slow Puncture, which I always thought was going to be the only great song I ever wrote. It's going to be the greatest song I ever wrote forever. It's not now, because Seasons exists. So. Yeah,
and when I first heard this album, this was the one that stuck out to me immediately. I was like, that's the hit, And my opinion changed as I listened to it more, because I found I liked other ones more. I mean, and things do change. You get new favourites all the time when you're listening to something, don't you?
Yeah.
But it was interesting to me especially because I'm not generally someone that goes for the kind of like the classic pop song. Generally, I'm like, nah, I need something to like do something else for me. But that one's so good that it just was like, no, that one's great. Yeah. It's really good.
I just feel lucky that it happened, honestly, because, like I say, I'm not sitting around with music charts planning out my songs. I'm just coming up with stuff and then layering it, and most of it is just doggedly seeing it through to the end, honestly, and making sure there's a finished song. And that's something that actually I got a lot from Laura Veers's workshops on that, because she's very into finishing things as soon as you can after you've started writing it. And I've definitely in the past, I wrote the slow puncture chorus and then waited about 2 years to put the verses together. And that's fine, it's worked out fine. But I like now, when I come up with something, to just try and get a finished version of it. So you can obviously edit it later, but like you need to have a thing that exists to then, build upon it.
I mean, that's a good lesson for any kind of creative work, isn't it, really?
Just capture that feeling.
Finish it, and you can always come back to it. You can always edit it. You can always do something else.
I change stuff later, but it's much less stressful if I can just get a finished version of something quite quickly,